Good morning, I'm Jeff. I'm a Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 599 Garland Court North here in Kaiser. We're located at the front of the home. We're just off to the left of the front doorway, right underneath the hose bib. We have a 3-inch ABS cleanout. I'm going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Currently have water running. Here we go. And I'll zero out the camera length counter right here at the base of the cleanout. It looks like we're going through a backflow valve here, and then it switches over to, it's hard to tell if it's getting bigger here to 4-inch pipe, but it's PVC. If the line goes all the way out to the street, we've got probably 130, 150 feet at least of pipe to go here. So the first bit is just getting the camera out. We have to let the whole thing drain out at the end so we can have a good look at it. So I'm going to have the camera moving fairly quickly here just so we can get all the way out to the main. And so far here we've gone through 2 sections. We're just popping out of a valley right now. There have been 2 of those so far, which is actually a very common thing with flag lots. And it's 30-34 PVC pipe here at 49 feet. This green pipe. And again, we have some more standing water. So far, it's staying quite clean and clear. I think it's just 1 or 2 people in the household right now, which is part of the reason for the cleanliness in the line. A lot of times when you have just not too many people in the home, you don't get a whole lot of debris buildup that you'd normally get if you had 4 or 5 people in the house. Well, it looks like it's just going through kind of an S-turn here. That may be a secondary clean out there tying in from the top. Alrighty, here at 163 feet, we have reached the main. All I'm going to do locates just to verify the line goes all the way down the end of the driveway and out to the street. And then we'll let the line drain out here completely we'll give it about 5 minutes to fully drain. There's a lot of line there. And we have a lot of spots with standing water throughout the line. Alright, located the camera head successfully. The line goes out all the way out to the end of the driveway and hits the main on Garland Court North. That's why the line is so long here. And it's, again, I mentioned before, it's very, very common to get bellies throughout. A lot of times main laterals are not set at a depth that accommodates a flag lot all that great. You have a lot more line to deal with grading. And it's also a lot harder to guarantee that all that ground there isn't going to move at all. It's a lot easier when your line's only 50, 60 feet long. It looks like it is still draining a little bit here. It looks like we have a very minor amount of flow coming out of the house. I don't know if it's a leaky toilet, but it looks like that kind of flow here. So So the standing water extends, at least this last section here. We have minor standing water out to the very end of the line. It gets down to like only about a 1/16 of an inch. Very, very minimal. The tricky part with situations like this, when you have so many bellies throughout the line, is spot repairing and correcting them without correcting other parts of the line as well. So anyway, the major portion of this belly here in particular looks like it ends at about 157 feet. It actually extends further beyond that, but just minorly. It's pretty quickly, once you start pulling back in here, the water level starts going up over to the top of the camera lens here. Alright, this belly starts here at 147 feet and extends out to 157 feet. We've got about 3/4, almost 1 inch of water throughout the whole belly there. Alright, I got this belly mapped out here. It extends partially out into the street, and part of it's in the driveway area. It's very shallow. Actually, I'm sorry, the belly starts right at the sidewalk, right where the sidewalk starts, and extends. So there's about 3 feet of it or so, 4 feet of it is under sidewalk. The rest of it's in the street, and it's at 4 feet deep there. It's very shallow for being out at 147 feet. That's very shallow. So that's, like I said, it's part of the problem with trying to grade lines this long. The main laterals often don't accommodate them. But you can also see there, right at the sidewalk, directly where where I located the line, the ground has sunk in there, probably by about 2 to 3 inches. It's all caved in. So there's obviously been some kind of ground movement there that's causing at least that belly. It's obvious. And that belly there, I do recommend repairing. Once you get about 5 feet of pipe that has 3/4 to 1 inch of water in it, that's where I tend to see one. When you get a whole bunch of bellies like this throughout a long line like this one, especially when you have more than just a couple people in the house, that's where they become a big problem. It's very hard for everything to make its way out and get through all the standing water. Now this belly right here in particular is quite minimal. The hard part is just the sheer number of them throughout. I'm still going to recommend a repair on it just because the length of the line, it's a different beast altogether when you're dealing with a belly like this in a small line versus one that's long. If the pipe were only 40, 50 feet long, a belly like this would not be nearly as concerning. But because they're back to back and it still has to go another 60 feet from this point to hit the main, there's that much more likely debris is going to build up. So I'll get this marked here as well. Looks like the belly dissipates about 110 feet. Okay, we're at 3 feet 8 inches here. I'm actually locating the camera off to the side of the driveway at this point here, so might get lucky and only have a little bit of it that's under concrete. Again, 3 feet 8 inches deep there, and I'm putting white X's on either end of the bellies. This one starts off kind of small here, but looks like it starts at about 103 feet. I got 3 feet 8 inches on either end of the belly there. I also recommend a repair to correct that. So This particular belly here, as I'm coming back through it, that whole thing there is a 1/16 of an inch or less of standing water. That I am not going to recommend any repair on. It's a very unlikely spot to get any issues going on. We may actually have some roots coming through here. I'm seeing kind of a spiderwebby type pattern on the pipe walls there, and it's originating from the pipe joint. It does look like we've got some roots that have started to come through. This is a spot here I'm definitely going to recommend a repair. One, we've got standing water, and this is not a terribly large amount of standing water, but there's an S-turn there. Turns cause a lot of debris to hang up even when they drain out properly. And I think it's just, most likely, that looks like a tie-in there from the top for a clean-out. I guess it's possible there's some other property back here that's connecting onto it there. It's really hard to get a complete view here. Our camera isn't able to swing over all the way to the side on all these turns, but this belly here ends at 70 feet. Alright, I mapped out the this belly in the line here. It looks like we actually have roots coming through. We have a couple separated joints. You can see those there. And a belly as well that has about a 1/2 inch of water in it. So, recommend a repair there. This appears to still all be under dirt. It kind of does an S-turn jog, but all of it appears to be under the dirt. It's very close to the driveway edge, but doesn't appear to go underneath it. And we're about 2 feet 8 inches deep there. Like this belly ends at 52 feet. And another spot here with some turns as well as standing water. I think it starts here at about 44 feet. Extends out to about 52. Alright, got this all mapped out. For the most part, it's staying under the dirt. There is a spot right at the beginning of the belly. It rides really, really close, possibly partially underneath the edge of the driveway in this area here. Anyway, I'm getting it about 2 to 2 feet 5 inches deep. Another spot where I recommend a repair to correct a belly. As well as it looks like we may have a joint separating right here where the belly starts at. See all that dark, looks like dirt coming through, and there's a gap in the pipe at the top there. Alright, looks like another belly. It looks like it starts here at 25 feet. This belly here starts right at the edge of the front yard. It's about 2 feet deep there at the beginning. And it should be similar out here towards the end. This one dissipates out at about 36 feet. This one here is another one that has about 3/4 to 1 inch of water in it. And again, the line was running up the, if you're standing in out on Garland Court North looking up the driveway, the line is going up the left side of the driveway. So at this point here, we're now coming back through the front yard area. It looks like we actually have more standing water that leads right up to the other belly we just mapped out there. Again, I realize some of this is minimal looking. The tricky part here is that we have only 1 or 2 people living in the household, which can make a huge difference on how a line looks, especially that has this much standing water in it. So, even the minor bellies, when it's belly after belly after belly after belly, it becomes a big problem because everything just gets slowed down one after another. It can build up like crazy. The fact that this line looks this clean is kind of incredible. Usually with this much standing water and this length of a line, you would have tons of stuff in here. So, but if you're careful, I tend to almost look at these more like a septic system. You have to make sure the only thing going down the line is folded toilet paper and limiting the amount of food down the disposal. If a repair is not done, I do recommend, at this point it does not need any cleaning. I recommend rescoping though in a year after the house changes hands to make sure that you're not getting any concerning level of debris buildup that needs to be cleaned out. And then from that point I would just rescope every so often to keep an eye on the line. Now this belly right off the bat is kind of a tough one, just because it's right, it basically is continuous with the other belly I just located. I'm going to recommend this whole section here just get corrected. If you're going to fix it, you might as well fix basically anything that's an issue. There's only one spot in the line where we had only about a 1/16 of an inch of water. This spot is similar to that, but it also butts right up against another belly. It looks like it starts somewhere here around 10 feet. It's really hard to tell. I've sloshed enough water out of this thing at this point. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and reel the camera out of the line. This X marking is right where the bark dust meets the front of the grass. We're about 2 feet deep there. I recommend correcting from that point there at about 10 feet out to around 36 feet. We've got between about a 1/16 for this first little bit here, but it's continuous with another belly that's got about 3/4 to an inch of water in it. So when you're already digging that trench, you might as well just get it all corrected. And often you can't correct just the exact dimensions of a belly. You have to go beyond it to get the grade correct. So anyway, we've got a belly from about 10 feet to 36 feet, from 44 feet to 52 feet, from 60 feet to 70 feet, from 103 to 110 feet, and 147 to 157 feet. There's a lot of bellies throughout the line. I recommend correcting them. I would have a repair guy take a look at things because we're working with depths at the deepest point out near the out in the road is only 4 feet deep, or in the sidewalk area was 4 feet deep. I do recommend. Oh no, the looks like the backflow valve here just kind of popped loose. Anyway, I'll have to get that fixed. Anyway, I recommend all that gets corrected. If it's not done, I recommend rescoping and jetting as needed if you get any debris buildup. Aside from those particular spots in the line, the other portions of it are draining correctly and are in good shape. The line is functioning at this time, but it is being greatly hindered by those bellies, especially if you get more than 1 or 2 people living in the household here. So. Anyway, and everything's mapped out with paint here. There's an X at either end of every single belly.